Hello, fellow football fans. My name is Adam Wilhelm. Today I'm going to be going over a two-round NFL mock draft with you guys. A little bit about myself. I am just a huge football enthusiast. Played throughout my day growing up. I tried out as a walk-on at one point, but blew out my knee, and that kind of ended all my dreams. So now I'm just a regular Joe like the rest of most people that will probably be watching this, and really hope that you like the content that I put out there. The way I do a mock draft is a little bit different than a lot of other people. I like to do a couple of different things. I like to do things I would like to see happen, things I think will happen, things I don't want to see happen, things I think won't happen, and at least one or two very stupid decisions. In the background, you're going to hear my kids. I have a 1-year-old and a 3-year-old, and that's just going to happen. So I apologize about that. If I try to put out future content next year, I'll have a bit of a better office setup, so hopefully that won't be an issue in the future. But for this one, I apologize, but this is also just kind of a test run to see if you guys like it, and if you do, I'll do some more stuff in the future. So without further ado, let's get right into this with the very first pick in the NFL draft. The Jacksonville Jaguars are going to select Aiden Hutchinson. Personally, I don't think this is what they should do, but there's a lot of smoke out there that they're choosing between four people. I get it. I get why they're taking him. He feels like the safest pick in my opinion. What I think they see in him is a high character guy. I kind of view it with J.J. Watt to Houston. I'm not saying he's going to become J.J. Watt by any means, so don't take it that way. I'm more so referencing the leadership and what he does off the field in the community. I don't think you really saw that from Trevor Lawrence last year, and I think they kind of need that in Jacksonville. Someone who gets the community fired up and helps out and is a good leader in the locker room, and I think that's what they're going to get with Aiden Hutchinson. So in a normal draft, I think he's maybe somewhere 10 to 20 where he's picked, but this year he's going number one. I don't even think he's actually a top 5 player in this draft, honestly, but I do think that's where they go. So number 2, this is where I'm gonna get kind of interesting. I actually think the Lions might do this, but they might not. We'll see. I'm gonna say Malik Willis. Now I know what you're thinking. They need edge, and you got Kayvon Thibodeaux, you got Trayvon Walker, both available, both great picks. But the story is pretty simple. Until you have a quarterback, nothing else matters. And Detroit's actually in a decent position with Jared Goff to where they can bring on the quarterback with the highest upside in this draft, take him right away. They can let him sit, they can let him develop, and they can put the pieces around him for another year before he has to start. I think Malik Willis will fit in Detroit. I think that they'll be able to put the weapons around him. And the most important thing is Detroit actually has a top 10, maybe even top 5 offensive line in the entire NFL. So you give Malik Willis time, and he can actually learn to go through his reads a little bit better and make those decisions. I actually think this is a pretty high boom prospect here for Detroit to take. So not necessarily what I would do, but I do understand it, and I do think it's a shocker of a pick that we might actually be able to see. And then pick 3, the Houston Texans. I don't know how Houston fans are going to feel about this one, but I'm going to say Trayvon Walker. Again, not what I would do, but I think you're seeing a lot of teams are starting to see that upside of Trayvon Walker. He's just an animal. And if the Texans are able to unleash that and dedicate it fully to being an edge player, which is something that he wasn't really doing at Georgia, this could actually be a very, very good and lethal pick for the Texans, who are searching for an identity on defense. And with Lovie Smith as their head coach, I actually trust them to get the most out of Trayvon Walker now. So even if this isn't necessarily what I would do, I actually might for this one. I think it's going to be a good fit for the Texans and with Lovie Smith. Then we have the Jets with pick 4. I think a lot of people are going to want them to either go edge or wide receiver. I'm not going to do it, though. I think they're going to go with Evan Neal. And if they do, they're a lot smarter than I give them credit for, because Evan Neal is my top player in this entire draft. I don't even think it's really much of a debate. I think he's the most clean. I think he's got a great upside. I think he's the most established right now. He's got a super high floor, even ridiculous higher ceiling. So you're getting a franchise left tackle to protect Zach Wilson, who needs time. And quite frankly, I actually believe the smoke that's out there about Mekhi Becton. I don't think he's going to stay. And even if he does, you can move him to right tackle, and then George Fant's going to be your backup and a veteran leader for two young and promising offensive tackles, assuming Mekhi Becton is still in shape, which I don't know. No one actually knows what's going on with Mekhi Becton. But regardless, you got to protect Zach Wilson and you got to give him time so he can go through his reads. Because I actually am a Zach Wilson stan, which is weird if you know the teams that I am fans of. But I think Zach Wilson has a very bright future, and for him to get there, you got to give him time. So I think this is actually a very easy pick. Maybe Jets fans don't like it. Maybe they do. Curious to see what they're going to say. But I'm going to go with Evan Neal. Then pick number 5. This one's going to be short and sweet. It's Ikem Ekwonu. I don't know if I'm saying that right. Ekwonu. I think that one's pretty simple. They need offensive line. He's probably the second best player in this draft behind Evan Neal. I think they rush this to the podium and don't think another second about it. Then pick number 6, the Carolina Panthers. A lot of people have them going with Charles Cross, and I don't blame them. That would be an absolutely fantastic pick. And then a lot of people think that they need to go with quarterback right away because, I mean, Sam Darnold's just not the answer. He's not. I'm sorry, Panthers fans. But I'm going to go a very different route. The Panthers are going to trade this pick with the Buffalo Bills. The Bills are going to move up from pick 25, give them a future round 1 pick and a future third as well. And they're going to do this to take Derek Stingley. Some people don't even have Derek Stingley Jr. as their number 1 corner. Some people have him as 3, maybe even 4 or 5. Other people think he's top player in this draft. It goes back and forth where you fall. But one thing that can't be denied is he's got traits, and his early year, his first year I think it was, he was an absolute stud. He was pegged as a top 5 pick for sure. And that was 2 years ago. And then last year was the COVID season, or the year before that was the COVID season, and then this year people just didn't really see it. I think people are going to come back around and say, what did he have to play for? If he's on the Bills and he's got Trey White kicking his butt on the other side, I think you're going to see a 1-2 punch of 2 LSU corners that are just going to terrorize opponents. Now, Bills fans might be saying, why are we trading up for a corner? We want Breece Hall with pick 25. I think corner is honestly the bigger need. You have Tyreek Hill, who is the father of the Bills, now in your division. You need a counter for that. I think Derek Stingley is their best attempt at providing that counter when you have the weapons that you do in the division that you now have to counteract. Now, I know Josh Allen has kind of been the dad of the Dolphins for 3 years now, but the Dolphins have just played their best hand. This is the Bills' opportunity to try and one-up them again. Whether it works is yet to be seen. Whether this happens, who knows? But I think that this is actually a trade that makes a lot of sense for both parties, because teams that are looking to make a move this year, I think you're going to see them actually be pretty aggressive and trade up in this draft, because the high-end talent is actually pretty good. Whereas teams that are in need of a quarterback, like the Panthers, for instance, I think you're going to see them want to stockpile picks for next year when there's actually quarterbacks worth taking in the top 10. This draft, even though Malik Willis already went number 2, I mean, I would view that as a reach. He does have upside that makes it worth it, but I don't actually really think I have a quarterback with a round 1 grade, like a true round 1 grade in this draft. I think they're all second-round picks. And maybe they prove me wrong. I always hope so. I'm not rooting for anyone to fail. But if I'm the Panthers, I'm taking the Bills' first-round pick next year, their third-round pick next year, and I'm using that to get the quarterback that I want next year's draft. And if I'm the Bills, I'm saying, hey, the Bengals, who were like a couple-win team the previous season, just went to the Super Bowl. And we're way better. We're a better team. Why are we not there? Let's get those remaining pieces and let's make that Super Bowl run. And I think Derek Stingley Jr. is the first piece for that run. Then with pick 7, the Giants back on the clock again. Except they're going to trade it as well. They're going to move back one spot with Atlanta and pick up an additional 4th round pick. So Atlanta's going to be on the clock, pick 7. And this is probably not another pick that people are going to expect. But I'm actually going to say that they're going to trade up one spot to get Kayvon Thibodeaux. I think he's one of the elite players in this draft. I think he's got all the tools. He's got all the traits. I don't really get all this crap about, he's not the locker room guy. His mindset isn't right. I'm not buying it. I think he's a stud. And if you're the Falcons, you need that on defense. You've got Grady Jarrett, you got Deion Jones, and you've got A.J. Terrell. Those are good pieces. But when you've only got 3 good pieces and you need 11 people on the field at the same time, that's a big problem. And they could go wide receiver, but this is a pretty deep draft, and I think that the better route for them to go would actually be to get Kayvon Thibodeaux, because they need to wreak havoc on defense, because they're just giving up points galore. So even though there's no one to throw to, there's also no one on defense that's going to really stop anyone from scoring points either. So I think when you're the Falcons and you're this bad, you take the best available player. And when Kayvon Thibodeaux, who should be a top 5 pick, drops to, the pick before you, give up a 4th, go get him. That's not a lot to trade up to do it. So if I'm Atlanta, this actually is a move that I would make. I think that they should go get Kayvon Thibodeaux, and I think he's going to look great in that black and red. So curious to see what Atlanta fans think about that. Pick 8, Giants back up on the clock, except they're going to trade down again. I don't necessarily think that the Giants are going to do this. They've been notorious for not really being good trade partners for a pretty long time, until last year when they finally made some trades. And then they got screwed and took Kadarius Toney, and now they don't want him. So who knows what they're actually going to do. But I think that the Packers are going to be pretty active in this draft. And yes, I am representing a Packers sweater here. I'm from Wisconsin, so the Packers are definitely a huge team of mine. If you don't know more about me, my other favorite team is the Dolphins. And if you ever want to hear that story, maybe I'll have to release another video as to why I'm also a Dolphins fan. But the Packers, they're going to trade up, and it's going to cost them the same thing as what the Bills just did. It's going to cost them their late round 1 pick, which is pick 28. It's going to cost them a future first and then also a future 3rd. And for this, Packers are trading up for a wide receiver, and they're going to take Garrett Wilson out of Ohio State. I don't really think that this needs explained. If I'm Aaron Rodgers and Davante Adams just got traded, I think I would make it abundantly clear to the front office, you guys absolutely have to take a first-round wide receiver or 2 in this year's draft. That is non-negotiable if I'm going to continue to play here. I think that the front office is going to get the message, because right now it's just Allen Lazard, Sammy Watkins, Randall Cobb, and Amari Rodgers. Amari Rodgers, unproven. Sammy Watkins, you know exactly what he is, and you should not be banking on it. Allen Lazard, that's basically a tight end at wide receiver. Randall Cobb, he's a stud, but he's getting older, and he's a slot weapon. That's what he is. So Garrett Wilson becomes your instant number 1. I don't necessarily know if this is the guy that I would take, but I think that he is the majority consensus number 1 wide receiver in this draft. I don't necessarily agree with that, but that is who I'm going to have the Packers trading up for in this scenario. Then with pick 9, we're going to go with Sauce Gardner. I don't really think that this pick needs explained too much. That defense needs a lot of work. The Seahawks are kind of going into a full rebuild here after trading away Russell Wilson and then just letting their star middle linebacker walk for absolutely nothing. So they just need some identity. And if there's one thing you can say about Sauce Gardner, he's got personality. He thinks he's the best corner in this draft, and his comp is Richard Sherman. So I don't really think that this is a reach at all. I think that this is just kind of a match that's perfect. So let me know what your thoughts are, Seahawks fans. Then pick number 10, The New York Jets, after taking Evan Neal with the 4th pick, they're going to come back and get Jameson Williams, wide receiver out of Alabama, to be the number 1 receiver for Zach Wilson. Now, if I'm the Jets, I'm looking at this draft and I'm saying, I need the best players available. And I need to make sure that I give Zach Wilson everything that he needs to succeed. Now, for him to succeed, I think Jameson Williams is going to be the perfect wide receiver to be on the boundary for him. Jameson Williams is essentially Deshaun Jackson. That's what you're getting. And Zach Wilson has a live arm. He can sling it. You get someone like Jameson Williams, even if he has to sit out the whole year, I think it's worth it because you're taking who's arguably the top wide receiver in this draft. And just look at the Jets division. You got the Bills, perennial Super Bowl contenders. You got the Patriots, greatest coach of our lifetime, always contenders. You got the Dolphins, back-to-back winning seasons, a new coach that actually believes in their quarterback, and they just added Tyreek Hill in an offensive line that can actually block more than trash cans. I think you're not really there to compete this year. You're looking for the future. And if I'm looking to the future for the Jets and I'm saying, who's the best player that's going to help me down the road, it's Jameson Williams. So if I'm the Jets, I don't think that this is a hard pick to make. You know, some people might want to trade for Deebo Samuel. I don't think Deebo Samuel really wants to go there. If he did, I think the deal would already be done. So if I'm the Jets, I'm taking Jameson Williams, and I'm not thinking twice about it. And then with pick 11, we have the Washington Commanders. Still hate that name. It's pretty awful, but, you know. With pick 11, last year, I totally pegged that the Redskins... See, there it is, the Redskins. I totally pegged that the football team at that time would land Samuel Cosmi. I thought they were going to take him in round 1. They took him in round 2, so I was close, but he still ended up as a football team member. Now with the Commanders, I think they're going to go back to it. I think they're going to take Charles Cross, offensive tackle out of Mississippi State. I think that Carson Wentz, he's not the long-term answer. We know what Carson Wentz is at this point. He was a one-year wonder. He had a great MVP-like season, got injured, and he just never came back. Either that or he never really was what that player was. One or the other. It doesn't matter. The point is, you need to establish that offensive line up front. They've got a lot of good pieces there. And I think with Charles Cross and Samuel Cosmi as your bookends of the future, I think you can put a quarterback in either this year or next year who's a rookie. They'll have time to throw, and they'll be able to be put in a position to succeed. So I'm curious to know what Commanders fans think about this, because I haven't really seen anyone mock this pick. So let me know in the comments below. But yeah, very curious to know your thoughts on that. I think he's one of the top 7 or 8 best players in this draft. You're getting him at 11. I think he's a plug-and-play left tackle or right tackle, whichever side you want to throw him on. And you're going to reap the benefits for over a decade to come. So then pick 12. The Vikings. I'm going to be honest, I hate the Vikings. They're pretty stupid. But I am very curious to know what Vikings fans are going to think about this pick. Derek Stingley is gone. Sauce Gardner is gone. Corner is obviously the number 1 need. That defense needs help. And yet, I'm going to give them Chris Olave. I think the reasoning is actually very straightforward. If you can't stop him, you better damn well be able to put up more points. And if you add Chris Olave to this offense, I think you can do it. Adam Thielen is getting up there in age. He continues to surprise with how well he performs at his age. He's not going to be there forever, though. And if you have Chris Olave as Justin Jefferson's running mate, I mean, Justin Jefferson is the Chris Olave comp, if I'm remembering correctly, but I think you're pretty happy if you're a Vikings fan because he's one of the best available players. I think it's actually a low-key a need because Adam Thielen isn't going to be there forever. And, with Captain Kirk at the helm, I think you can put up a lot of points with this offense. Let me know your thoughts. Sorry to be mean to you Vikings fans, but I think that this is actually a really kind pick for you guys. I mean, as a Packers fan, I would hate if you guys got Chris Olave. So let me know. Pick 13. I thought long and hard about what the Texans should do. I tried to make it to where, they took someone realistic, and also I tried to make it to where it gave them an identity. So with the third pick, we gave them Trayvon Walker. They need someone to rush off the edge, because right now they don't got anyone. So with pick 13, I thought, who can provide them with even more identity on that Lovie Smith defense? And a player who's been falling in this draft, some people have viewed him as a top 5 pick, which, I mean, I get it, but at the same time, he's kind of a one-play highlight and a one-play sensation that kind of got blown overboard. I'm going to give him Kyle Hamilton. They just lost their safety. Is it Eric Reed? I don't know if his first name's Eric, but last name is Reed, to the Chiefs. So they definitely have a hole to fill. And of all the places for Kyle Hamilton to land, I think he should be ecstatic to work with Lovie Smith, who I still think is one of the better defensive coaches in the league. And I think he's going to know exactly what to do with him. He's not going to make him this over-the-top free safety. I think he's going to use him as a weapon, as a strong safety, in-the-box linebacker for nickel and dime downs. And I think that they'll be able to put him in the best position to succeed. Kyle Hamilton might not be excited about going to the Texans, but I think that this is actually a really, really good landing spot for him. So Texans fans, let me know how you feel about this. Round 1, Trayvon Walker and Kyle Hamilton giving your defense a brand new identity. Curious to hear your thoughts. Then pick 14. I'm going to start by saying that this is definitely not going to happen, but it would be fun. They're going to trade with the Green Bay Packers. They're going to come up again. So the Green Bay Packers, they're going to give away their 3rd round pick, their 4th round pick, and pick 22 to move up 8 spots, and they're going to receive a future 6 to come and get Treylon Burks. This is General Manager Aaron Rodgers saying, I need weapons. And yes, I did mean to say General Manager Aaron Rodgers. You do not let Davante Adams go without a plan. And Sammy Watkins is not a plan. No offense, but you can't even rely on him to stay healthy. Same with Lazard. You've got Robert Tonyan coming off a major injury. You've got an offensive line that probably needs a little bit of work. You got one of the best backfields in the league. But you got no one to throw to that's consistent. You get Garrett Wilson and you get Treylon Burks, and you got something exciting. Like, you're almost guaranteeing one of those guys is going to win Rookie of the Year. Like, I think that would be kind of a shoe-in bet, honestly. You get Treylon Burks to Green Bay, and I think they're going to utilize him in a multitude of different ways, and it'll be exciting. And with Garrett Wilson on the opposite side, that's an offense that's retooled, revamped, and not only good for the immediate future for Aaron Rodgers, but also good for the long-term future for Jordan Love when he eventually takes over, because I don't think he's going anywhere. Then pick 15. I thought long and hard about this one as well. If I'm the Eagles, you probably want a wide receiver. Drake London is a name I see very commonly. I just don't think that they do it. I mean, I think they've gone that route before with wide receivers kind of similar to Drake London. I don't think that that's a mistake they want to make again. I'm not very high on Drake London, but, I see it. I get it. I get why people are. If I'm the Eagles, I'm looking at this roster, and honestly, the Eagles don't really have any holes. What they have is a team that just needs upgrades. So when I assess this roster and I say, what player in this draft is best available and represents the biggest upgrade to what I have on the team currently, the player that I arrive at is Daxton Hill. I think he's your immediate day one free safety. And even if you don't like him there, he's your immediate day one slot corner. You're going to find ways to deploy Daxton Hill. And I think he's going to be a stud for your defense for a very long time. He is a playmaker, and that's something that this defense needs. That secondary, a lot of people like it because you've got Slay, you've got Maddox. Like, there are pieces there, but you don't have anything that's really necessarily a long-term answer. And I think that a major retooling of the secondary is coming up sooner than people think. And I think it's going to start in this draft with Daxton Hill. Then pick 16. Look, I'm going to be honest. Saints fans, you're going to hate me. Because like I said, every draft I do, there's got to be at least one stupid decision. And I don't know, I just feel like the Saints always end up taking someone at least a round too early. Like, if I'm wrong, let me know in the comments. But I have them taking Christian Watson. And it's a little mean, I get it. But at the same time, he's actually a stud. I wouldn't take him this high by any means, but he definitely is your number 2 wide receiver at this point, if you do take him here. I'm curious to see what Saints fans say. If you hate me, I get it. I'll try to be nicer maybe next time. But I'm gonna go with Christian Watson just because I think that they're gonna take a reach. Then pick 17. The Chargers are gonna still get Trevor Penning, which is probably who Saints fans wanted with the pick prior. Sorry that you hear my kid in the background. Like I said, they are 1-3, so that's just gonna have to happen this time around. Yeah, Trevor Penning, probably who Saints fans wanted to be their left tackle, but I just don't think they're going to be smart enough to take a tackle. But honestly, at the same time, I'm not really a big Trevor Penning fan. So maybe it's dodging a bullet. I don't know. I guess we'll find out. But if you're a Chargers fan, I think this makes a lot of sense because you need someone with a nasty demeanor as your right tackle. And that's exactly what Trevor Penning is. He has got a mean streak, and he just wants to basically go out and pummel people. That's what he is. So he's not disciplined. You're knowing that when you take him, you're probably going to be getting a lot of holding penalties. But at the same time, I think you're fine with it because you've got Justin Herbert who can sling the rock like crazy. And I don't think the Chargers really care if it's 1st and 20. They're just going to say, we're going to have time to throw it. We got Keenan Allen and Mike Williams. We're going to pick a guy, let it fly, and just rip it out all day long. So Trevor Penning kind of secures that offensive line and finishes the 5 that you need. I think it's a good pick for the Chargers. Like I said, I might not be the biggest Trevor Penning fan, but I do think it makes a crap ton of sense for the Chargers in this spot. Then with pick 18, we're going to go back to that same philosophy. Who is available that upgrades my team the most as it currently stands? And that's going to be Trent McDuffie. So like I said, Eagles fans, I think that a complete reimagining of your secondary is coming sooner than later. And I think it does start with this draft. I'm sorry that I'm not giving you a wide receiver. This is a deeper draft for wide receiver, but honestly, I'm just not as high on it as a lot of people. I think you've got, I don't know, maybe like 6 to 8 really good ones. But if I'm the Eagles, I think I'm happy with this pick. I get Trent McDuffie, who I think is a solid corner for years to come, potentially with number 1 CB upside. I get Daxton Hill, who's going to be a ball hawk, free safety over the top. That's a secondary that I can work with, and that's necessary in this day and age where it's all about passing. So I'm curious to know what Eagles fans are going to think, but Trent McDuffie is going to be the pick. And then at pick 19, I did feel bad for giving you guys Christian Watson. So now we're going to double dip and give you Jahan Dotson, who I actually think is better. Jahan Dotson, I'm a huge stan of Jahan Dotson, so I promise I don't hate Saints, and I don't hate Saints fans. When I see Jahan Dotson, I see Jarvis Landry with Marquise Brown speed. That's how I relate Jahan Dotson. I'm not concerned about that 4.41 40 time. I mean, even still, that's fast as hell. But at the same time, I think he actually plays faster than that anyways. So honestly, Jahan Dotson, he would be a rookie of the year candidate if this were to happen, because Jameis Winston, he's just going to sling it. And honestly, I wouldn't be surprised if we see another 30-30 year from Jameis Winston. But with Jahan Dotson out there, you can line him up on the boundary. You can line him up on the slot. You can honestly use him even as like a running back if you want to. He's just a total stud. He's a playmaker. He finds the ball. He's got sticky hands. And I think you take this pick and you're happy with it. You're ecstatic. So, Saints fans, curious to know what you think with the new wide receiver core of Michael Thomas, Jahan Dotson, who's going to be your number 2 because he will beat out your number 3, who you took three picks prior, and that was Christian Watson. So let me know what you think about your newly retooled wide receiver room. And then pick 20, the Pittsburgh Steelers are on the clock. They're going to trade down. And the Giants, after trading back twice, are now going to trade up. And it's going to basically just be a swap. So the Giants, they currently have a late round 1 and early round 2. And the Steelers have pick 20, so a mid round 1, and pick 20, a mid round 2. You're just going to swap those picks. So going from the outside to the inside picks for the Steelers, and going from the inside to the outside picks for the Giants. And the reason why they're doing this is to get Zion Johnson, who I think is the second best player in this draft. He's just an absolute stud. You're going to put him at somewhere on the interior of your offensive line. Doesn't matter if it's left guard, center, or right guard. Wherever they want to put him, I don't even care. He's still going to be amazing. And then you combine that with Ikem Ekwonu, and your offensive line is completely revamped just like that. Now, like I said, a lot of people probably want a Charles Cross. I think that this is a better move for you guys to land Ikem Ekwonu and Zion Johnson. Let me know your thoughts. Curious to know it, Giants fans. But that's who we're taking at pick 20 after 3 trades later for the Giants. Then we have the New England Patriots. As a Dolphins fan, I don't like the Patriots, logically, but I do think that the Patriots are going to have one hell of a draft. It's going to start off with Kenyon Green. They would have taken Zion Johnson, so thank you to the Giants for blocking that move and completely rejecting them. But at the same time, it doesn't matter because Kenyon Green is still a stud in his own right. He doesn't have the physical tools necessarily, but he's polished and he's a plug-and-play starter. And since the Patriots were dumb enough to just trade Shaq Mason for nothing, you need that guy. I'm still trying to figure out how that trade made sense. Like, I'm thinking Tom Brady must have, like, blackmailed Bill Belichick. He, like, called him up. He's like, hey, Bill, you know how you were nothing without me? Well, I'm going to tell the world about it unless you give me Shaq Mason. And then Bill's probably like, well, what do I get out of it? And Brady's like, me not telling the world that you're not as great as you think. And then Bill's like, okay. And then Tom's just like, we'll also give you a 6th-round pick. Like, how else do you arrive at that trade? Like, Shaq Mason's a Pro Bowl freaking card and just a stud and has been for a long time. And they traded him for a 6th-round pick. Like, that makes no sense. But at the same time, they can replace him with Kenyon Green, and it's all the same. So, I don't know. I'm not going to try to guess how the Patriots run their organization, but that trade made no sense. Then pick 22, after trading back with the Green Bay Packers, the Ravens are going to land David Ojabo. I don't think that this one needs much explaining because David Ojabo is an absolute stud and best friends with Odafe Oweh. And I think that with the Michigan connection, this just makes way too much sense. So, David Ojabo to the Ravens. Let me know your thoughts. You got to trade back and you still landed him. Then, the Arizona Cardinals at pick 23. I struggled with this a little bit because I looked at the Cardinals and I looked at their roster. I'm just like, how are they this good? Like, because the roster honestly is not good. They've got holes all over the place. And when I was assessing this, like, who would they take? I arrived at them needing edge the most. And I'm taking Jermaine Johnson. He's been a riser of late on draft boards because of what he did at the combine. I think at the Senior Bowl as well. He's just a stud, and there's been reports of Jermaine Johnson going 4 to the New York Jets today. So Cardinals fans, if you're able to land him at 23, I think you're happy. And I don't think there's going to be any complaints about it. I'm curious to know your thoughts. Because like I said, I think that roster is honestly in worse shape than people realize. And I think Jermaine Johnson can be a cornerstone piece for that defense for quite some time. Then we have the Cowboys at pick 24. And if I'm the Cowboys, I'm going to be honest, this draft kind of sucks for the Cowboys. They need offensive line help, but at the same time, the top 3 tackles are gone. You could take maybe a guard, but Kenyon Green and Zion Johnson, they're both gone. So, you could take a center, which is Tyler Linderbaum, and it would make sense, but you've got Tyler Biadasz there, who I don't think is bad by any means. So that's just a rough spot for the Cowboys. So I'm going to look to trade down, and the partner I'm going to find is the Houston Texans. So the Texans are going to have a 3rd first-round pick. They're going to trade up by giving their 2nd round pick 5, which is 37. They're going to trade their 3rd round pick 16, which is pick 80, and a 2023 round 6 pick to jump up to 24. And they're going to do this to take someone who I'm not a big fan of, but his slide does need to end, and that's Drake London. Now, history is not my forte, but if I am remembering correctly, Lovie Smith's offensive success came back in the day when he had Jay Cutler, shades in the cigarette, just saying, I'm going to throw it up to one of my 2 towers, Brandon Marshall or Alshon Jeffrey, and they had success. And honestly, I'm looking at the Texans roster. You got Nico Collins, who I was actually a huge fan of last year. And you got Brevin Jordan, the tight end, who I think can still become a stud. You got Brandon Cooks in the slot, who is better than anyone I can remember from those 2 tower days in Chicago. You get Drake London to pair with Nico Collins, and you got Davis Mills, who honestly, I don't think it's out of the world of possibility for him to become a Jay Cutler-like quarterback. He's got the arm for it. He's got the size. He can sling it. You give him two towers, and you let Lovie Smith's offense go to town. So I'm curious to know what Texans fans are going to think about this. Let me know. But Texans are trading out for a 3rd first-round pick, and they are taking Drake London. Then the Carolina Panthers, they have sat patiently. I know that they want tackle, and they could have taken it with Charles Cross. I still think that they're going to get pressured into taking a quarterback, which is why I think this trade down made a lot of sense for them, because if it doesn't pan out, you're still in the runnings to take another one next year. And honestly, I don't think people are going to get mad at you if you just keep taking quarterback after quarterback until one sticks, because you have to get that position right eventually. So they're going to take Desmond Ridder. Quarterback rankings in this draft are all over the place. I've seen people with Carson Strong number 1, with Kenny Pickett number 1, Malik Willis number 1, Desmond Ridder number 1, Sam Howell number 1, Matt Corral number 1. There is no consensus on quarterbacks in this draft. So the Panthers, I think they're going to say, who's got the most tools? Who's got the best traits? And who do we think is going to ride with us for a while? And I ride to Desmond Ridder. I think he is going to be the one that they take. I could be wrong. Maybe they end up going with Kenny Pickett at pick 7 or whatever, pick 6, whatever their first round pick is actually. But this makes a lot of sense to me to trade back, get Desmond Ridder, and if it doesn't work out, if you can already tell after 1 year, and sometimes you can, sometimes you can't. You have to play that by ear, unfortunately. But if it doesn't work out, you trade up and you get your guy next year. Curious to know what the Panthers fans think, but Desmond Ridder is going to be your first round pick. Then you got the Tennessee Titans at pick 26. And they really wanted Zion Johnson. So the Giants screwed over a lot of teams when they made that deal to pick 20 to take him. And since he's not available, they're going to trade down with the Cincinnati Bengals. And the Cincinnati Bengals are jumping ahead of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers and the Pittsburgh Steelers. And I don't think that this is even a question as to who they're going to take. So they're giving up a third-round pick to move up 5 spots. They are taking Tyler Linderbaum, center out of Iowa. He's exactly what that offensive line needs. You put him at center, you move Ted Karras over to left guard, you have Jonah Williams at left tackle, you have Alex Kappa at right guard, and then you have La'el Collins at right tackle, and you completely revamped that entire offensive line. It's kind of a no-brainer to just give them a third-round pick to get exactly what they need, and we're going to move on. Tampa Bay Buccaneers. I struggled with the Bucs. I really did. They're so stupidly good. It's like, what do you do? So I eventually arrived at Jalen Pitre. I don't know if that's how you say his last name, but the defensive back out of Baylor. I think he's exactly the type of player that Todd Bowles is going to really, really enjoy having on his defense. He's got the tools. He's got the high IQ. He's going to deploy them all over the place. Quite frankly, if you're the Bucs, you're going to need secondary help sooner rather than later. You've got Jamel Dean and Sean Murphy-Bunting both going into a contract year. You just lost Jordan Whitehead. You've got Edwards as a safety, who I think is also going into a contract year. You take Jalen Pitre right now, and you make it to where by next year he knows exactly what his role is going to be moving forward, and you don't think twice about it. I think it's a great landing spot for Pitre. I think it's a great pick for the Bucs, and I think everyone's going to be all the happier. Curious to know what Bucs fans think, but let me know. Then we have the Pittsburgh Steelers at pick 28 after trading down with the New York Giants. And the Pittsburgh Steelers are going to select Kaiir Elam out of Florida. This Steelers team is actually pretty good, even with Mitch Trubisky as their quarterback. I've seen a lot of mocks that want them to go quarterback, but like I said, I think most of the quarterbacks are second-round picks, and you're going to see that in this draft. I think if I'm the Steelers, I'm just going to bank on my defense, and I'm going to take Kaiir Elam to be my number one corner. He's got all the traits, he's got the size. I think he's a perfect landing spot, or that this is a perfect landing spot for him. And I think that coaching staff is going to get the most out of him. Like, honestly, a few years from now, we could look back and he's the best corner from this draft. And that's saying a lot to get him at pick 28. And that's honestly a testament to the Pittsburgh Steelers coaching staff. Then we have the Kansas City Chiefs, 2 picks in a row. And honestly, I think these are 2 of the easiest picks that they have ever made. Because there are 2 players here who, one should have gone way earlier, and one who I'm really high on, but not necessarily everyone else is. So the first one, player that should have gone way earlier, his slide's going to fall, or he's going to stop right here. That is George Karlaftis, the edge out of Purdue. I mean, if I'm the Chiefs, I'm doing everything I can to get out of Frank Clark's contract. So George Karlaftis is my answer. And then with pick 30, I'm going to take Andrew Booth Jr., who, I mean, I know I just said this about Kaiir Elam, how he could be the best corner in this draft years from now, and that was a testament to the coaching staff. But honestly, if I was going to predict someone to become the best player in this draft in the future, it's Andrew Booth. I'm really that high on him. He has all the tools. He's got the size. The one thing he doesn't have is the experience. And I think you look at that staff and what they've been able to do with Snead, and I think you can apply that to Booth as your number one perimeter corner. Snead can then move into the slot where he's comfortable, and I think their other corner is Fenton. And he's also more of a slot corner. So you need some boundary players, and that's what Booth is. So by taking Karlaftis and Andrew Booth, you set up your defense very well for the future. Curious to know what Chiefs fans think, because some people want them to take wide receiver, but you still have Mecole Hardman. You signed Marquez Valdes-Scantling. You signed Juju Smith-Schuster. I don't think wide receiver is really that pressing of a need. I mean, that's not like a superstar cast, but it's definitely serviceable when you're paying your quarterback as much as they are. So curious to know what Chiefs fans think, but I think that these two picks are absolute steals. And speaking of steals, the Tennessee Titans at pick 31 are going to take someone who I've seen projected in the top 10, and that's Jordan Davis. I'm really curious to know what Tennessee Titans fans are going to think about this pick. I mean, I think that their top need is actually left guard. I think you got to get an upgrade over Aaron Brewer, but I don't really think there's a guard worth taking right here. So I'm looking at this roster, and I'm saying, who's going to be the biggest upgrade for me immediately? And you got Autry and Tart, both defensive linemen, who are in like a final year of a contract, or they were just re-signed for a 1-year deal, or they're like an out. I don't remember what the exact situation is, but the point is after this year, you really don't have any down linemen on the books for the future, other than Jeffrey Simmons, who I am a huge Jeffrey Simmons fan. So if you put Jordan Davis next to that, I think that's just nasty. So let me know your thoughts, Titans fans, after trading down and getting Jordan Davis, a top 10 talent potentially. He's just an absolute animal of a run stuffer. I mean, you've got a two-gapper in Jordan Davis, and then you have a guy in Jeffrey Simmons who requires two blockers just to try and handle him. I mean, you're going to have gaps open for linebackers to rush the quarterback for days. That's how I feel about it. So then at pick 32, we have the Detroit Lions. And this is where I'm going to have some fun. This is kind of what I want to see happen, which is weird because I'm a Packers fan, but as a football fan, I think that this is actually exciting. You took Malik Willis, and you need to create an identity outside of that offensive line. You have T.J. Hawkinson, but your receivers are kind of meh. So we're going to trade for Deebo Samuel, and that changes everything. So the 49ers are going to get this pick. They're going to get round 3, pick 2, and a 2023 round 4. So 3 draft picks for Deebo Samuel. And the Lions offense honestly looks really good now because you've got Deebo Samuel, you got DJ, I don't know if it's Chark or Shark, whichever it is, and you've got Josh Reynolds, and you've got Quintez Cephas. I think that's actually a great landing spot for Malik Willis now because you have an offense that's it's set. Like if Malik Willis can't make that work and the coaching staff can't make that work, it's going to be a rough time in Detroit because that's actually a pretty darn good offense. So especially with T.J. Hawkinson, DeAndre Swift, Jamal Williams, that's a loaded offense. So I don't know, I guess it's kind of a change my mind. I kind of hope it happens, but at the same time, if it doesn't, I get it. But I think it makes a lot of sense. So now the 49ers are sitting here on the clock. No Deebo Samuel, and the 49ers, they did this with DeForest Buckner where they traded away their player and then they drafted his replacement. Yeah, they're going to do it again. So I have them taking George Pickens, which, a lot of people might be like, he's nothing like Deebo Samuel. Well, look at Kyle Shanahan. The roots of his success go back to days with Julio Jones. I don't want to word it like that, but George Pickens is an absolute stud. I think people have forgotten about him because of injury. He's honestly probably a top 5 receiver, if not better, in this draft. I think if he goes here and if Trey Lance works out, you're looking at another Rookie of the Year contender. George Pickens, I don't have the words to even say it. I'm very high on George Pickens. I think this is a great landing spot. And I'm curious to know what 49ers fans think. I mean, yeah, you're sad to see Deebo go, but I'm happy to see George Pickens arrive. So, and then Trey Lance has a new number 1 target. You got Brandon Ayuk, and you've got Jawan Jennings plus George Kittle. You still got Elijah Mitchell in the backfield. That offense is just going to keep humming. You need to fix the O-line a little bit, but as far as losing Devo goes, I think that you could definitely do a lot worse. I think this is a kind of a best case scenario. So for the 49ers and for the Lions. And this is also a way for the 49ers to stick it to the Packers because, they're trading Devo to the Lions instead of them. So, all right, round 2. I'm going to try to go a lot faster because we're already at 50 minutes here. Pick 1, Lewis Cine out of Georgia. He's going to be a safety. Personally, I do not view Rayshon Jenkins and Andrew Wingard as the future for safety, but Cisco and Cine, I think you got something cooking. And then you got pick 2, 34. This is going to be just an absolute run up to the mic, run up to the podium, and it's Devin Lloyd. He's going to be the captain of their defense for over a decade, biting kneecaps everywhere. It's just absolute perfect fit. He's going to be your mic, your leader, just run it in. New York Jets. This one was painful, but they're going to take Breece Hall. Bills fans are probably going to be kind of pissed about this, but if I'm the Jets, I don't see a wide receiver that I necessarily really want to take. I'm just taking the best available, and that's Breece Hall. So now I'm looking at Zach Wilson. I'm saying, you know what? We've just shored up your offensive line. You have Jameson Williams and Elijah Moore. You have Breece Hall and Michael Carter. Let's go make this work. I still think that they need a tight end because I'm not necessarily the biggest stan of CJ Uzomah or however you say his last name. But I think that this pick makes a lot of sense because he's also going to be the favorite check down target for Zach Wilson. And people like to trash on checkdowns, but you need them. And Breece Hall is a lethal one. So I think it's a great pick if you're a Jets fan. And then for the Steelers, I probably should have put a quarterback here, but I just really like the idea of double dipping at corner and taking Zion McCollum. Let's just give the Pittsburgh Steelers staff the traits and the size to work with and let them mold them into what they need. And that's exactly what you're getting with Kaiir Elam and Zach McCollum. And I think you've just retooled your cornerback tandem for over a decade. I think that's a huge, huge win if I'm a Steelers fan. Cowboys finally on the clock, and they're still going to get a first-round talent in Devontae Wyatt. I think he's going to slide due to some off-field stuff, but I think that interior defensive line for the Cowboys is kind of turned into wide receivers drafted by the New England Patriots. They just can't seem to get it right. So I'm looking at this, and I'm saying this is the Cowboys' chance to get it right because Devontae Wyatt is a stud. New York Jets back on the clock. They just lost Marcus May. They're going to replace him with Jaquan Brisker. I know that they just signed Jordan Whitehead, but quite frankly, I view Jordan Whitehead more so as a Band-Aid than a solution. Plus, you have Ashton Davis coming up into a contract year, I believe. You're going to need a safety eventually. You might as well just take one who is a perfect kind of replacement for Marcus May right now in Jaquan Brisker. I think that's a pretty easy pick. Then the Chicago Bears finally on the clock, and this was kind of a coin flip pick for me because that they need wide receiver. They're going to go with Jalen Tolbert. It was a coin flip between him and Sky Moore. I went with Tolbert just because of him being taller. That's really what it came down to. Darnell Mooney is really the only receiver that you have there, and he's already a shorter guy. I don't think you necessarily want two of those without having any other size other than Cole Kmet at tight end. You need at least one receiver with size. So even if Tolbert isn't necessarily the thickest frame guy, I still think he's going to be the guy that the Bears are going to be like, heck yeah, he fell to us, let's go get him. So get Justin Fields some targets. And then the Seattle Seahawks are coming up with back-to-back picks. First thing they're going to do is take Perrion Winfrey. Now, Perrion Winfrey, some people love him, some people hate him. I think he's going to be pretty good, honestly. But, they need someone next to Poona Ford. And I think Perrion Winfrey can be that guy. It's as simple as that. And then at pick 9, they're going to take Tariq Woolen. Again, they're going to take another corner because the secondary just kind of needs retooled. So you get Sauce Gardner, you get Tariq Woolen, you get Sauce Gardner, who's kind of more like Richard Sherman. And then you get Tariq Woolen, who's just got trades for days. He's definitely the faster athlete, and I think that you need someone with speed in your secondary, especially at corner in today's NFL. So I think that this pick makes a lot of sense. Let me know your thoughts, Seahawks fans. And the Colts, I'm not gonna lie, I don't think Colts fans are gonna like me with this pick. They wanted wide receiver, but I don't necessarily view anyone as a good complement or better than what they currently have. It's not a good receiver room, but it just wasn't there for me. So I said, what's the next biggest need? And they just lost some veteran left tackle. So we're gonna get Nicholas Petit-Frere. I have no idea if that's how you say it, but that's gonna be the guess I'm going with. The way I see this, he is not like an established prospect right now, but he was like a 5-star recruit at one point. And if there's any staff that I trust to get the most out of an offensive line pick, it's the Indianapolis Colts. I mean, they just continue to produce offensive line talent. It is crazy. So I think he becomes their left tackle starter day one. And, like I said, he's not necessarily the best prospect right now, but you get him with that coaching staff, and I mean, just watch him become like an all-pro type guy. It wouldn't surprise me. Then we have the Atlanta Falcons, and yeah, they probably want wide receiver again, but unfortunately, I mean, Sky Moore is really the only other guy that you'd probably take right now. And I just viewed Kenny Pickett as the better answer, because if Kenny Pickett hits, I think that that's a better value and a return on your investment than wide receiver. And even if he doesn't, you're going to be in a great position next year to get your guy. So this is kind of a no harm, no foul pick. You need a quarterback to compete with Marcus Mariota. Honestly, I honestly think that Kenny Pickett could beat out Marcus Mariota. Simple as that. So, and since that's the case, I think that's the pick. Cleveland Browns, I still think you need another wide receiver, so they're going to take Sky Moore. They're not really worried about size because they've got Amari Cooper and Donovan Peoples-Jones. So you add Sky Moore, that's a nice trio for Deshaun Watson to throw to if the NFL for some reason lets him play. We're going to move on. Baltimore Ravens, I think this is actually going to be a great pick, as you guys are one of the teams winning this draft, and that's going to be Kyler Gordon. Get yourself a slot corner. Corner is honestly a need that's going to be coming up pretty soon for you guys, and you already do need that slot corner. So between getting David Ojabo and Kyler Gordon, I think that you are having a great draft if you're a Baltimore Ravens fan. Minnesota Vikings, again, you want corner, but I'm going to give you a quick preview. There's only one other corner going in this draft in round 2, and I don't think he fits what the Vikings want. So we're going to take Matt Corral. And honestly, if I'm a Vikings fan, I'm pretty excited about this because I think he can do what Kirk Cousins does and even better, and he can do it for $30 million less per year. So honestly, this is just great team building. I mean, you have Matt Corral, you have Justin Jefferson, you have Chris Olave, you've got a great offensive line, you've got Dalvin Cook. That is an offense that is absolutely set up for success. And then even if it doesn't work out this year, if you get out of Captain Kirk's contract after this year, you can add all the talent in the world on defense in next free agency and through the draft. So, curious to know what Vikings fans think. I mean, as a Packers fan, I'd be pretty ticked off because I'd actually view them as a legitimate threat in the division. But, I guess we'll see what happens. Then the Commanders, still hate saying that, but they are up next, and they're going to take Sam Howell. Pretty simply, I think Sam Howell can beat out Carson Wentz, and if he can't, he wasn't worth the pick. That's the easiest way to view it. Then pick 16, the Bears are actually going to trade down with the Kansas City Chiefs. They are going to receive round 2, pick 18, and then they are going to receive a conditional compensatory pick in the 3rd round. If they do not receive a compensatory pick, it'll be a 4th round pick. But the Chiefs are more likely than not going to be getting a 3rd round compensatory pick next year. So with that, the Chiefs are trading up to get Travis Jones. honestly, he can go in the first round. Won't surprise me one bit. He's an absolute stud, but you are completely retooling that defensive line by taking Travis Jones. I mean, you've got Derek Nottie, and you've got his first name Khalil. I can't remember his first name, but last name Sanders. They're both heading into a contract year, and Travis Jones is an upgrade to both of them. So you get Travis Jones to free up Karlaftis and Chris Jones, and I think you are just in an absolutely great position for the future for that defense in Kansas City. Kansas City, if I was going to grade every one of these teams, the Kansas City Chiefs might be the winners of this draft. I think that's just an absolutely great draft to get Booth, Karlaftis, and Jones. All right, then next up, pick 17, the Saints. Oh, we're going to go back to Saints fans hating me because we're going to take Daniel Faalele. Personally, I think he's more of a round 3 prospect. He has all the tools. He has all the traits. He has the size. He does not have the polish. He needs coached up. I think that this is a good landing spot for him, but not necessarily with the pressure that is going to come with it, because honestly, he's probably going to have to be your starting left tackle day one. And that's trickier than it sounds, because I'm pretty sure he's actually a right tackle. So he's got to switch sides, and he's got to get coached up, and he's got to get coached up real fast. You got a mountain-sized hole in Teron Armstead being gone. Well, you're going to get a mountain-sized man to fill it. And we're going to move on. So pick 18 to the Chicago Bears. It's going to be Darian Kinnard. He's going to start at one of the guard spots. I think losing James Daniels was a huge mistake for the Bears. And honestly, the Pittsburgh Steelers picking him up very quietly was one of the steals of the offseason, in my opinion, because James Daniels is awesome. So Darian Kinnard, he's going to be one of your starting guards, most likely, from day one. If Justin Fields is going to have any chance of success, he's got to have time. And I think that makes this pick pretty self-explanatory. Eagles fans, probably dying for a wide receiver. Well, you're finally going to get it. It's going to be John Mechie III. I mean, you got those Bama roots, but also I think he's a better just complement to what they have. I mean, he's kind of similar in the sense to Devontae Smith. He's nowhere near as good, don't get me wrong. Honestly, I think he's more of a third-round talent. But I do think that the chemistry that might be there is something that's worth taking. And I think he's got a pretty high upside. So if you can unlock that in Philly, I think that this is a great pick. New York Giants on the clock, and they're another team that's just killing it in this draft. Boye Mafe, you partner him with Azeez Ojulari, who I was really high on last year. I think you've got a great 1-2 punch at just wreaking havoc on quarterbacks. Whew, that's nice. Green Bay Packers, they are also having probably too good of a draft, so you know that this isn't going to happen. But I'm going to give them Arnold E. We're just going to call him E because I have no idea how to say that last name. My guess would be Abikidi, but who knows? Probably way off. Yeah, I think that after you lose Zadarius Smith, you sign Preston Smith, which honestly I didn't really get that. Like, Preston Smith kind of is what he is at this point. I don't think he's worth $10 million, that's for sure. Rashawn Gary, absolute stud. Put Arnold E on the other side. I think he's going to beat out Preston Smith, get out of that contract, and put that money towards a better use. Then the New England Patriots. This is really, really painful because I have been high on this player for a very long time. Honestly, before like scouting season even started. Looking around on draft boards and seeing, this guy's probably around 4 talent, and now people are like realizing like, no, he is definitely around 1, around 2 talent, and that's Leo Chanel. Honestly, he's got the highest upside out of any linebacker in this draft, in my opinion, even higher than Devin Lloyd, who I'm also a huge fan of in this draft. Leo Chanel is just an absolute beast. You'd like to see a little more coverage from him, but that can be coached up, and I trust the New England Patriots staff to put him in a position to succeed and to also, get those skills. And I mean, he's going to be a captain on that defense for a long time. Like, he's going to be the new Dante Hightower 2.0, new and improved, which no one in the division wants to see, but unfortunately it just happened. So Patriots, if I'm a Patriots fan, I think you're ecstatic with this draft. You get Shaq Mason's replacement and a new captain of your defense. Arizona Cardinals. I don't necessarily know if this is what I would do here, but it makes a lot of sense because looking at what's available, I'm going to take Kenneth Walker. I'm not a James Conner guy. I get that he's been having some success there, but when I see Kenneth Walker, I see a guy with like Joe Mixon upside. So I'm pretty high on him. I do still think that he is RB2 in this draft behind Breece Hall, but Kenneth Walker, I think, will have a ton of success in Kansas City. Or not Kansas City, in Arizona. So I'm curious to know what Cardinals fans are going to think. Let me know. But Kenneth Walker is going to be your second pick for the Cardinals. Then we have the Cowboys. Went back and forth on what they should do. Ultimately, I arrived at what frees up Micah Parsons to play more edge. So I'm taking Nakobe Dean. I think he's a good complement to Leighton Vander Esch. Nakobe Dean, I see people with like mid-round one grades on him. I'm not as high. I think that Leo Chanel and Devin Lloyd are a clear cut above him. So I'm curious to know what Cowboys fans are going to think about this pick, but I think if you got Leighton Vander Esch and Nakobe Dean as your off-ball linebackers and you have Micah Parsons just coming off the edge, I think you're happy with that result. Then the Bills. I will say I'm grateful for the Cardinals for taking Kenneth Williams so that the Bills couldn't, but I'm still not happy with who the Bills are going to take here, and that's going to be Cole Strange. When I look at the Bills roster, I mean, running back is really the only other need, but there's not really one I want to take other than Kenneth Walker. Those are the only two that I would take in the first 2 rounds, are Walker and Hall. So with them both gone, I'm going to take Cole Strange. He's probably going to honestly be one of your starters at one of your guard spots, maybe even center. I mean, he's got the tools to do it. So the Bills have a pretty good track record of taking guys with good traits and putting it to good use on the offensive line, and I think that run is going to continue here. Falcons fans, I'm going to understand if you don't like me after this pick, but please hear me out. So you took Kayvon Thibodeaux, A+ pick, even though you need wide receiver. You took Kenny Pickett. I think that's another A pick, maybe even A+, because you got him in the second round, and even if it doesn't pan out, that's a pretty darn cheap backup for 4 years. So with this pick, it's got to be wide receiver, right? I'm going to go with Trey McBride. This is kind of a me pick. I get it. You got Kyle Pitts. You have Hayden Hurst. What in the hell do I need a third tight end for? Here's the way I see it. Kyle Pitts is basically your number 1 wide receiver. I don't know why they don't just do it. I mean, yeah, you're going to have to pay him more down the road, but he's going to ask for it anyways. Like, let's just accept it. He lines up in the slot a ton. He can play the perimeter. So who's going to want to cover Kyle Pitts, Hayden Hurst, and Trey McBride? And if you're not familiar with Trey McBride, just say Dallas Goedert instead. Who's going to want to cover Kyle Pitts, Dallas Goedert, and Hayden Hurst? That is 3 mismatch nightmares. So I get it. It's probably not what you want, but yeah, I hope you at least listen to my reasoning on it. This is kind of a me pick. It doesn't necessarily make sense because you need wide receiver, but with how I just explained it, I hope that you see the vision for what we're doing there. And then the Packers, going to be at pick 27. They're going to take Tyler Smith. I've seen some people take him in the first round. I don't necessarily think he should go that high. I think he's a round 2 player. This is a good spot for him to land. He'll probably be a starter. It's just a matter of where. The Packers have to decide what they're doing with Elton Jenkins. Are they going to keep him at guard? Are they going to move him to right tackle to be their right tackle of the future? Once you answer that question, you can figure out where Tyler Smith is going to start. Or he's going to be your depth piece, and he can play basically any spot. So then you got the Bucks coming up. And once again, don't really know what to do for the Bucks because they're stacked. We're going to take Jamari Sawyer out of Georgia, interior offensive line. I know that they just acquired Shaq Mason, but you still got to have depth on the O-line, because if someone goes down, I don't think Tom Brady wants someone who can't block in front of him. San Francisco 49ers, they're going to take a kind of a reach here, but if there was a team that was going to do it, I think that this does make sense. They're going to take JT Woods. I think if they had a better safety, they might have been in the Super Bowl last year, which would have shocked the world. And he's got the traits, he's got speed, and that's something that their back end safeties don't necessarily have right now. So I think that this is kind of a shoot for the stars pick, and if they develop it, I think it can really work out. Kansas City Chiefs, pick 30. This is kind of just a fun one. I don't necessarily think it's going to happen, but we're going to give him Calvin Austin III, little track star who's got great football skills. Might be reminiscent of someone that they've recently lost, but kind of a fun pick for the Chiefs after absolutely nailing their first three. Cincinnati Bengals, honestly, I had in a previous version of this mock draft, because you go through it, you make it, you look back, you edit, how can you improve it? At one point I had the Bengals taking this guy in round 1, and I have seen him go round 1, but after I did that trade for Tyler Linderbaum, no one took this guy, and he was available round 2, and I was like, you know what? It works then. Roger McCreary. Simply put, Bengals lost the Super Bowl in the fourth quarter because they were getting beat like a drum out of the slot by Cooper Kupp. Roger McCreary can be your new slot corner, and that dude is tough as nails. He's going to wear you down physically. So I think the pick makes a lot of sense. Let me know your thoughts, Bengals fans. You get a new starting slot corner and a new starting center. I think you've just answered your 2 biggest needs. And then the final pick of my mock draft, round 2, pick 32, 64 overall. The Denver Broncos finally on the clock. And they're going to end the slide to someone who I have seen go round 1. I don't think he should go round 1. But it's going to be Bernhard Raimann. And the easiest way I can justify this slide is ask yourself, can Bernhard Raimann beat Billy Turner at right tackle? If you answered no, then he didn't slide enough. And it's really as simple as that. So that is my 2-round mock draft. Please let me know your thoughts. If I'm way off on something, let me hear it. If you really like something, let me hear it. If you think I have a prejudice against the Saints or the Falcons, let me hear it. Whatever your thoughts are, I just want to interact and hear those thoughts and have a good conversation with you guys. If you enjoyed it, please let me know. I've been looking into making more stuff like this, and if it gets some likes and some thumbs ups, we'll look into doing this more next year, hopefully without the kids in the background. Like I said, I apologize for that, but I won't have that problem next year. So let me know your thoughts below, and I hope you guys all have a good draft season. Peace.